Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there, you gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage, we are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah.
What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Y'all good?
Yes, sir.
How y'all feeling?
Feeling glorious.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to Manifestations 2020 podcast. I am your host for the night, Major Gage. I'm in the building with my brothers Anthony Malcolm and Bobby Drake. They are co-hosts as well. We in the building. We doing it tonight. We doing it. And tonight we have a very important show we want to come and bring to y'all, because we have a situation out here where people run around like they ain't got no damn sense. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I wanted to take tonight to address the topic of what is appropriate versus what is not appropriate. You know, you scroll through social media, or you walk out of your house, or you go to church. I mean, even in church nowadays, people behave as though they didn't have proper home training. They didn't have the proper upbringing. You know what I'm saying? And that is really taking a toll on us as Black people. You know, it's extremely detrimental to us, because we understand that we're behind the 8 ball if we understand how things are set up against us. You understand what I'm saying? The dominant white society has control of the media, and they often use that very powerful media to portray us in a negative light. So we aren't doing ourselves any favors if we're out here assisting them in the process of promoting us or presenting us in a negative light. And most of what I have to talk to, most of what I have to talk about tonight kind of has to do with that. It's something that my wife brought up to me initially that I didn't really see much of a problem with, but I kind of want to see what y'all think on it, because sometimes I might feel a certain way about something, but I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? I can be very intense at times. So maybe I need y'all to talk me off the ledge, or talk her off the ledge, really, because like I say, I didn't find the issue with it, or maybe I should be tripping, and y'all let me know. Get me aligned if I'm not aligned tonight. So we'll set off with that. But first of all, before we get into that, anything y'all want to say to the audience?
Not really much to say. Everything we come with pureness and from the heart, and what's going on in real time. What I do want to say is, rest in peace to the young man who committed suicide from LSU. He was a first round division. He was going to be the first round pick for the NFL upcoming draft, from what the sources were saying. He had a great season, senior season last year. And it goes to, we talk about this all the time. We educate, all of us on here educate younger adults and young men. And we always say that it only takes a few seconds to change your entire life.
Oh, yeah.
And we always try to tell y'all to manage yourself in a way where you don't put yourself in a situation that can go from something very positive to something very negative. So in December, as you know, LSU had, they didn't go far in the playoffs. They got knocked out in the playoff, college playoff realm that they had. Yeah. So during that time, I think this young man went out and just, he figured that he was going to be a first round prospect going into the draft. He went out there and celebrated. During the celebration, and this is just what I'm assuming, I don't know the correct details of it. What up, Janae? Yeah. Shout out to Janae Tate and Hilo News.
Hey, what's that?
Great job covering Carol City alumni this weekend, man.
Janae, aka Miami's most hated.
All right.
And we love it.
Definitely thanks so much for all the stuff you're doing out here for the community and putting that stuff up, so brothers like me who aren't in the realms of South Florida down there like that can actually see it and be a part of it. So just want to give you a shout out for all of those great footage that you got for Carol City, and shout out to your alumni for really setting the bar. And even Pliers had to he had to stop the crowd and give flowers to Freezy, who is one of the legendary guys making a hell of a mark down here in South Florida for all our South Florida people, man. When you talk about somebody that's moving with a village mentality, that also is moving the bar and helping our children and the community, man, you got to salute to a dude like that, man. So just knowing that Pliers got on stage and gave him his flowers, that's super dope, man. And I hope that clip goes viral because it's much needed. People need to know what Freezy is doing down there and has done. He's a very humble guy, but don't get it twisted. Freezy can get cocky, and he has every right to get cocky. You know, sometimes when you're doing good in the community, you can get cocky. A lot of you dudes ain't doing shit and they get cocky. That's off-code behavior as well. When you're out here doing something good, yeah, get cocky. Let people know. You know what I'm saying? You deserve it. But definitely, man. So yeah, like going back to what I was saying about the young man, you know, I am taking it that he went out to celebrate, because what happened was he went out late driving and end up going at a high speed and doing a head-on collision with another car that ended up killing a 78-year-old man. And condolences to his family for the pain and suffering that they went through. You know, so you got two families that had just, you know, went through total devastation off of one night that should never have went in that direction. So the young man that was driving, the college player that was driving, he ended up fleeing the scene. And, you know, if you're fleeing the scene after a head-on collision, more than likely you're under the influence. And that's just my opinion of the situation. You know, I don't know the full details of it, but they were charging him for the homicide. And I think he got charged a couple of days ago, or it might have been a week ago or something like that. And the young man decided to take his life last night when he knew he was facing those charges, because at the end of the day, it wasn't looking too good. And his whole dreams of being a football player, his whole life, he wanted to be a football player and play in the NFL. And he finally got his dream. But because of a poor decision that one night of speeding, that caused him to get in a head-on collision with another driver. Now, like I say, that's what I heard. And then I also heard that he didn't. I don't know. Since they say he didn't really cause it initially like that, because I think he said somebody he swerved and the guy hit something. I can't remember what the reports are, but
what happened was he was speeding, and he ended he was zigzagging through traffic like you see people do sometimes, and he went through a section of the highway where, you know, you have, for those of us who actually paid attention to our driver's test and our driver's studies lessons and actually knows these things, you know, when you drive on the road, you have sections of the road that you're allowed to cross. That's the dash section of the median, but then you have solid sections of the road that indicates that's a no pass zone.
Right.
So he was zigzagging through traffic, and he ended up crossing over to a section where you're not supposed to cross through, and he ended up jumping into the oncoming side. And so naturally, the drivers who see this, you know, they're swerving to get out of the way. And then the car that had that gentleman, they swerved to avoid him. They end up swerving into what for them would have been oncoming traffic, and the head-on collision with somebody else. The driver survived, the other car survived, but it was the passenger, the 78-year-old man, that ended up dying from his injuries.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
So that's what I played. And I think the draft is supposed to be this week. And I think he had court, or he's supposed to go to court for the first time next week, I think. So pretty much he was at a crossroads where what should have been the biggest day of his whole life was coming up this week. And, you know, even if he got, I doubt it would have happened, but even if he got drafted or picked up, he wasn't going to be seeing no football field anytime soon, because he would have been getting dragged in and out of court.
Wow.
Until ultimately, you know, his sentence was going to come back. Because, I mean, for the most part, he was dead to rights. I don't know how you get out of that. So, so that's what the situation was. Just wanted to spruce up what you were saying.
That's just basically what I wanted to touch on, and just let the young guys know, man. Look, man, you got plenty of time to go out here and celebrate and do it, you know, in a more a fashion of being very responsible. Just don't take one night of being reckless that can just go all the way from being right all the way left, and just destroying your whole life like that, and putting yourself in a situation you didn't need to put yourself in, you know. So rest in peace to that young man. It wasn't a malicious act that he tried to do. It just was a bad situation that happened, and 2 lives and 2 families are destroyed because of it. So just moving forward, you know, anybody out there that's listening to our message, just tell your friends, your family members, or even if you're a young man, young adult yourself, or even a young lady. A lot of young ladies are out here driving super fast and reckless like that too. So if you're out there doing that, man, please just take the time to realize that it could go left, and take your feet off the gas and drive responsible. And make sure that you're there for the next day and there for your family as well.
Yeah.
Now I'll land my plane on that.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I just bumped into that story today and I read through it and I was heartbroken to see that. Because of course I wasn't following LSU, but or know the young man, but from the sounds of it, you know, head on straight, doing what he's supposed to be doing up until that moment.
Yeah.
And like you said, one bad decision changed everything for him. And you know, I believe not that his suicide was a good thing, but I believe that was a sign that he was remorseful, that he felt very guilty for what happened, that he also felt devastated that, you know, again, because of the decision, you know, it was going to end up costing him everything. And so it just got to a point where he just didn't see a way out. And so that's the route that he took. And that's why one of the things that I stress so much is that, you know, people will do stupid things. They'll say stupid things and they'll say, oh, you know, it's just a mistake. They'll just brush it off and shrug it off. And they don't understand that there are some mistakes that, you know, you make and you can apologize for it, or they're inconsequential, but there's some things that you cannot walk away from, or that it'll take a lot of work to try and undo. There's some people right now, it may not have cost them their life or somebody else's life, but they have spent, or they will spend years, or it's going to take them a long time to try to undo the damage that was caused when they made that decision that they made. And if you ask them, they'll tell you if they could walk it back, they do it immediately, that whatever benefit or joy or pleasure they got out of it, it wasn't worth it. They'd never make that decision if they knew what was waiting for them on the other side of that. But that's the problem. You don't always know. So you have to choose your mistakes wisely. And I remember I shared last month in the group 6 non-sexual lessons that every father must teach his son. And sadly enough, that right there was one of them. Now, I don't know whether or not he was drinking and driving. I don't know. I feel pretty sure that would have come out at the time. But then again, he did flee the scene. So if he was drunk and he fled, and by the time they picked him up, there wasn't alcohol in the system, you wouldn't be able to know, I don't think. But not putting that on it, but just to say, because we know that DUIs are a thing. It's very common for people to drink and drive, unfortunately. You have to make sure that you don't subscribe to other people's definition of fun and be mindful of how you define fun. So, you know, when people talk about fun, and the thing that I shared, it said fun doesn't mean drinking, partying, or socializing. Fun could be a night alone, getting lost in a book, a deep conversation, a walk, making art, playing music, or doing some work that you enjoy. Now, fun for you could be drinking. Fun for you could be partying. Fun for you could be socializing. Not knocking any of those things necessarily. But make sure that you are not falling victim thinking that I have to do this because this is what people consider to be fun.
Right.
Define it for yourself. Don't let peer pressure get you, have you thinking like, well, you know, if I'm about to get drafted, that means I got to go turn up on the highway, whatever. No, you could just have a small little party gathering for you and your friends. Y'all can go turn up at I think it was a senior, so he's of legal age drink. You guys go turn up at a bar or something, or party. You can have fun. But there are certain things, certain lines in the sand that should be a no-no.
Yeah.
And it don't make you a square, it don't make you corny because you don't do certain things. It makes you smart.
Yeah.
Because if he made a better decision, if he decided, you know what, I could do this, but let me relax, let me just go home, sleep it off or whatever. This brother would be gearing up to go in the first round, or whenever he got picked up, he'd get to enjoy the moment that he worked so hard with his family for, that his family sacrificed with him for. He'd be able to celebrate, and he would have hopefully a long, healthy career to look forward to. And instead, he's no longer with us. So be mindful. It's painful. These things aren't just because you did it once, you got away with it. Well, well, I was speeding and nobody got injured. Don't get cocky. Because you don't got limited chance. You may have got lucky one time. God was looking out for you that one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But grace can have an expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it
just be a
often
lesson.
does. Yeah. What jumps out to me the most in that story is that, it's very unfortunate what happened, and I can understand the level of depression from it. But what jumps out to me the most is the lack of coping skills. You had this terrible thing happen. It's very tragic, but instead of trying to deal with it and trying to cope with it, you immediately just go, they're still saying they don't know if it was a suicide. They're anticipating that he ran into him on purpose. Because I'm reading about it as well. They're still debating whether it was a suicide or not. But in any event, you decide to get in the car and go on a high-speed chase and just kind of crash out, even if it wasn't, intended that you lose your life. Still, where is the coping? You know what I mean? And I worry about our young brothers and sisters when I see that they lack any type of coping abilities. You know what I'm saying? And they just kind of immediately go to a worst case scenario, or they immediately go to something that is likely to be destructive, as an outlet, instead of going to try to talk to somebody, going to try to, face the music. Whereas, okay, things may be bad, but it doesn't end in death. It's not necessarily all over. You know what I mean? It bothers me that that's our first line of recourse. These horrible things, we don't try to resolve stuff. So, I mean, it's a lot, man. It's really a lot. It's a very heartbreaking story. All right, well, let's get into it. Since we're on that already, let me just go ahead and keep the spirit of that, right? And I'm just going to go into this story first because I thought this was kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Now, if y'all are not aware of exactly what that is, or exactly who that is football player Quaydarius Davis. Quaydarius Davis, former Southern football player, reportedly arrested for strangling his girlfriend. He caught a domestic abuse charge because of that video. It's going viral. It's everywhere right now. And the reason why, I kind of went with that one first is because, we were already talking about a young man who just kind of destroyed his, or lost his life behind something tragic that occurred that, is coming out of college football, going into the pros. And with this young man, Quaydarius Davis, it's exactly the same. You're in that position. You're about to go pro. Everything's good. You coming along. He's a star wide receiver. Whatever the case may be, doing very well for himself. And here we go again. We're yet another of these young men that have their whole lives ahead of them, an NFL career potentially. And now you caught on tape strangling your girlfriend, and there's all kind of charges that are associated with that, and you looking like, the stereotypical image of what white society wants you to look like, what white supremacist society wants you to look like. And so they're gonna make you wear that. You know what I'm saying? It's a despicable act. It's painful to watch. You know what I'm saying? Just, we got a lot of young brothers out here moving real reckless with sisters. You know what I'm saying? If we just gonna keep it a buck, that is a problem in and of itself. And I just want to know how do y'all feel with regards to that? Like, have you heard anything about this story? Is it something that you've been, because I've seen it several times, it went viral, but it's not like one of those mega viral stories. And that worries me too, because it seems like when the story is, if that were a white girl he was strangling, that would be everywhere. Yeah, that's how I feel. You understand what I'm saying? But because it's a black girl and he was strangling in the video, I don't think that the story is getting as much legs and as much traction as it should get. That's why, like, I talked to people about it. A lot of people haven't even heard of the story. Have you guys heard that story? And what do you think of the situation?
I saw that story. Well, I didn't see the story, but I saw that video earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, my blood was boiling when I watched that. Because at first I wasn't 100% sure what I was watching, because it was one of those posts where it was like they said something brief. There was like a brief, vague summary about it. And then, of course, they said, see, check the comments, whatever.
Yeah.
So I went to the comments and I watched the video. And as I'm watching, I'm slowly starting to put two and two together with the caption and what was going on. And when I saw that, I didn't even get sick to my stomach. I just got hot. And we try to stay family friendly on here. I'm not at liberty to say what my initial thoughts were on that, but it involved him getting some brand new body piercings that he wasn't born with. I'll leave it there. But yeah, that really pissed me off bad. And I just want to say that in no uncertain terms. And I'm someone that believes in equal opportunity. Yeah. I don't subscribe and I've said that before, it's a platform I have no issue with standing on. Yeah. I do not subscribe to the notion of males should not put hands on females. I don't believe in that. Mm-hmm. I believe that males obviously shouldn't go and instigate situations with females. I also believe that the flip side, females should not be instigating situations with males.
Right.
Everybody keep your hands, feet, and objects to yourself.
Facts.
Just like they taught us in kindergarten. And if somebody attacks you, doesn't matter if it's male or female, or if you're a male or female, you are justified to defend yourself.
Right.
Nobody's put on this earth to be a punching bag or a practice training dummy for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I choose to not put my hands on you, then that's grace that you're being given.
Yeah.
But if I choose to take that grace back, or you just happen to catch me on a bad day and I'm like, you know what? I'm fresh out. The store is empty. All I got is these hands. That might come your way.
There it is.
So I have no issues with him putting hands on her if she attacked him or assaulted him first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw was not by any stretch of the imagination a self-defense situation.
Right. Right.
And even if she did hit him first,
mm-hmm.
barring that is with an object, a pan or a weapon or something else, barring a physical object, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for him to strangle her, choke her out.
Facts.
To the point where she literally passes out cold and then he's dragging her lifeless body.
It's outrageous.
Hell no.
It's outrageous.
Hell no.
Outrageous. I'm right there with you.
I don't know what got him to that point, but there's nothing that should have been able to get him to that point. We need a lot of training as far as emotional intelligence goes. And unfortunately, these are skills that really need to be taught at the childhood level.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so big on the work that Brother Jason O. Wilson, shout out Brother Wilson, is doing up there in Detroit with the Cave of Adullam martial arts school that he runs up there, as well as the books that he's publishing out there and putting out there as well too. As men, well, you know what? I can't even say as men, because unfortunately I'm seeing a lot of women behaving this way as well too.
Yeah.
As people, we need to spend time learning how to actually navigate our emotions in a healthy, functional way.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with being angry. These are emotions that we were born with. They mean something. They have serve a purpose. There's nothing wrong with crying or shedding tears, for men or for women. As a man, if you cry right now, if you bawl your eyes out, you're shedding tears, that doesn't make you soft. That doesn't make you a punk. That doesn't make you a pussy or anything else derogatory. But it is what we do with these things and how we move through them that matter. If you see that you're having an argument or whatever the case is, or she does something that pisses you off, you need to be in control of yourself and your emotions enough to recognize, you know what? I'm getting heated. I'm getting elevated.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to go in a good direction. Let me go ahead and cool off. Let me go walk away.
Right.
Let me go move myself out from this situation and get away. If she, for whatever reason, decides that she's going to pursue you, follow you, keep it going, this might get controversial. It is what it is. My advice is you go ahead, and if you have to, put hands on her, shove her, push her, trip her, or worst case scenario, give her one good blow to the head. Why do I say that? And I know that might sound funny to some, that might sound offensive to some. Here's why I say that. As human beings, we all have our individual breaking points.
Yeah.
There are some people that can take a lot of abuse. They can take a lot. You just pour it on them, and God bless them. They just sit right there like that dog in that meme. This is fine. Everything is good. Nothing is wrong. The whole house is on fire. There are some people like that. There are some people who all they need is just one little breadcrumb, and it's on and popping. Most people are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
They can't take it a whole lot, but they're not hair trigger either. They're somewhere in the middle. If you're in a situation where you feel yourself getting to that point and they're not letting you leave, it is better that you take action now to create distance or separation where it's light, as opposed to letting it build up and get to the point where now you completely snap, you lose control, and now you go Incredible Hulk.
Agreed.
It is better to hit somebody across the jaw with 30% of your full force than it is to completely lose it, and now you're ragdolling them, and it looks like you're a stunt double in somebody's action movie. So if it gets to the point where they will not allow you to leave, you force the point and keep it moving. Get in a car, lock the door, get in a house, whatever, go someplace crowded, go someplace where you can be and feel safe. And if necessary, call the police, call law enforcement.
Okay.
Let them take it from there. But to get to this point, unacceptable.
Agreed.
And whatever he gets, as far as I'm concerned, is what he gets. I got no sympathy. I got no sympathy for Big Dog.
All facts. All right. Fair enough. Well said. And what you got?
It's just disgusting, period. And I think one of the reasons why it's not getting major publications is because he's a nobody. He's an up and coming athlete. From what I saw is he's supposed to be in the draft in 2026. So he's not even in this draft. He's in the next draft coming up. So it's not going to be something major for the people to get indulgent. When it's some high profile celebrity, it's sensationalized in the news because it's story. It's something that can have traction behind it. Getting this guy in the story, what is it? She's not famous. He's not nobody. He's not even on a D1 level school, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's the Jaguars, Southern Jaguars is the HBCU. So it's there's no sensationalization behind either one of them, and and that's just how that's how the media is. They have to have something that has to be of substance to sensationalize. Yes, it's a woman that's being being abused, which should be sensationalized regardless, because we have to protect women who are being abused by guys who don't know how to control their emotions. And remember, a lot of these guys that play football, especially on the lower level, they're not regulated on stuff like testosterone or taking steroids and stuff like that. We don't know what he's taken that can enhance him to be that aggressive. The way he was with this woman, he didn't even have any emotional sense to say, damn, I could kill this woman. He just, the way he's dragging her out is like a regular mannequin doll, and that to me grind my gears when I see that. What I mean? There's so many women that's in that position. And you know what? Kudos to her for saying publicly that she's the one who initiated the breakup, which caused him to go bizarre and crazy like that. And she says, no, I'm not going back because I broke up with him because he had red flags. Kudos to that girl for realizing that the flags is too many red flags there. At least she can be accountable enough to know that she engaged with a guy that had red flags, but once she saw that it was too much, she initially said, I'm breaking ties. And remember, she broke ties before he strangled her. So apparently the red flags was going up, and she said, you know what, not enough. And he isn't man enough to accept his wrongdoing or whatever. So he's strangling her out like, you know, how dare you break up with me? You supposed to take me as I am. That type of attitude, how he went about it. And that's so disgusting. And we have a lot of boys growing up in the form of a man that have these type of fucked up personalities and attitudes. And it's a big problem that's growing. It's also an elephant in the room. We don't address it as much because a lot of times they get swept into the gray area of there's a lot of things, a lot of pressures on black men and this and that. Yes, there is, but you have to know how to compartmentalize the two between, okay, what men are dealing with in general and what an asshole individual is doing. This is an asshole individual. He needs to be held accountable for his bullshit and not under the umbrella of black men in general. And I think once we understand that part of it, we'll clean up a lot of this fucked up behavior that we have in our community. I don't like it. I'm disgusted. It does need to be on front page, and he needs to be addressed, and he needs to make a public apology. And now he starts to need to put his realms of going out there and doing things to appreciate more women, and also talking to young guys and letting them know and being accountable. Like, this is my actions. I was wrong for this. And I'm using my story to make you guys better. I need to see him put a foot in that direction and stand on it and go firm in that direction. Learn from your mistakes and make other people better from your mistakes. And I'll land my plane on that.
And he also needs to serve time as well.
Yeah.
Of course. He needs, I don't like advocating for that lightly, but in the situation of that, he needs to go ahead and sit his ass behind some iron bars. He really does.
Correct. But even the ones that be behind bars still go out there and advocate as well. You know?
Oh yeah. That's not the end of it. That's part of it. But like you said, he definitely, because this needs to be a thing where people who have been there, if you're looking to actually not, because there's beyond punishment. That's one thing. But you have an obligation now to go ahead and to, if you have truly learned, and that's assuming that he has learned his lesson once that's happened, but to go forward now, as someone who has been there, we can't unfortunately undo what has already taken place. He did what he did. That's it.
Yeah.
But the question is, going forward, what can we do to get the most value out of this? This is a horrible situation, but what can we do to maximize this moment? We can take this and use it as a teachable moment. This is a young man who is on track, looking to go pro. He's in the shoes that a lot of younger men are trying to be in, and some people already are in now at this moment. Him being able to come back and say, hey, you know what? I've been in this situation. Let me tell you all how I got here, what I should have done differently, and really be able to teach from his failure. So now hopefully we can steer other people away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a difference, man. Punishment has to be administered, and far too often it's not. You know, these guys get slaps on the wrist for doing these atrocious things, and that has to stop. Facts.
And I just want to add one more thing in there. It goes back to what me and Bobby Drake have sit back and said countless times on this program. You need mentors, you know, and I think that it needs to be a policy. It needs to be a policy, and for young adults. And I'm not even talking about from the young adults, even from Little League. They need to have mandated mentors around them going up in their different levels of position in sports. I think every sports need that. Basketball, baseball, soccer, football. I think every young child in sports needs a mentor, men and women. You know, no gender bias. I think everybody young should have mentors. You know, so let's see what we can do. And that's something that's been heavy on my mind to try to get them into a mandated financial literacy and a mandated mental health space where we have them around mentors and knowing how to financially manage their money as well. Those are the two components that I think every child should be mandated in as when they sign up for sports. And I'll land my plane on that.
All
Spot
facts.
on. Spot on.
The thing that jumps out to me the most about this and why I chose to go into this one first is because we're constantly seeing these stories surrounding violence, drugs, poor decisions, suicide or murder. I'm not sure what the first case is or whatever that we talked about involving jocks. There is a whole culture around jocks where jocks can just kind of do whatever the hell they want to do and nobody says shit because they know that they're going to be a famous NFL player one day or they're going to be, NBA, what have you. And I don't think that enough people talk about that. There's a whole, they treat them almost like gods. You understand what I'm saying? Where, okay, they don't have to be accountable for much. They can get away with just about anything. And even the people who would be their would-be mentors, the people that you're talking about, will let a lot of their shit slide because of who they are and what their abilities are on the field. So I just wanted to throw that little nugget in there. That's something that we got to really pay close attention to, especially as men. You know what I'm saying?
It's actually very predatory if you think about it, because you're not actually doing this person any favors.
Correct.
That a lot of the times, if we're being honest, they're also doing that hoping that if this person makes it, they're going to go ahead and get a nod. They're going to get a kickback or something else or something on the side. And again, they're not doing that person any favors. They're not doing themselves any favors.
Right.
And they're really setting them up for a lot of heartache and heartbreak later on. And another thing that I'm going to toss in there really quickly is that I believe that is also part of the erroneous teaching that a lot of young men are given. One of the reasons why a lot of young men end up in sports, and this doesn't get talked about nearly enough, or at least in this context, but the reason a lot of young men end up in sports is to serve as an outlet for aggression or for negative emotions.
Yeah.
And you see that at all levels. You see that in the music that's chosen for walkouts and to get the teams hype. You see that when it comes to the celebrations. We see right now, perfect example, Ja Morant has been famous for that recently with, guns off the screen and then making gun motion on the sidelines. And then now he's decided to kind of flip his finger to the system. Now he's throwing grenades, whatever. But this whole aggressive mindset, and aggression is fine. Again, like every other emotion, there's a place for it. But this idea that when, again, as a person that is not emotionally intelligent, this is the one and only way that I express my emotions of this ilk.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other tools. That's a problem. If that brother, if he had a game to play in 5 minutes before that situation went down, she probably would have been fine, because he's going to go out on the field and he's going to take all that frustration he's feeling out there on the field. But the problem is, when it's not game time, what do you do in the meantime?
Yeah.
So it can't just be, I'm going to take this pain and I'm going to go and have a 60-point game and ball out on him. It can't just be that. It needs to also be, I have some other soft skills that I use to de-escalate, to calm myself, and to get to a healthy place.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Well, listen, everything we covered there is pretty intense. So let's get out here and push that in real time when we're talking to brothers. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to be done. Let's switch gears a little bit. We took a while on that one, so we got to catch up, guys. I saw this, and this it's like the internet just keeps on turning, man. Like this is just it's ridiculous. Our sister we talked about not too long ago. Well, she's back, but now they're still dragging this sister. If you recall, Felicia Rashad said something about young women and the way that they're dressed, and how it's a lot of modern women and the way they dress just kind of lacks respect and class and grace and so forth. And she was spot on. But these women are still dragging her almost three weeks, maybe a month after she said it. And this particular young lady right here says, I will never let an old washed up actress in her 70s who has been divorced 3 times tell me how I should dress. You modest but single, so it ain't working for you, granny. Let us youngins have our ARE ass out if we want. So this is where we are, fellas. Real quick thoughts.
I remember that interview. Felicia Rashad was very spot on. It was on the Breakfast Club, and even Jess Hilarious, which is a woman that at times people could sit back and say that she straddles the fence. Sometimes Jess can be very classy. Sometimes you'll catch her in some real raunchy ass moments.
Yeah.
She has her moments where she straddles the fence, and even her saying that when Miss Felicia Rashad stepped in the building, she was like, yo, everybody in the Breakfast Club, including her and Lauren, was cleaning up and making sure everything around. You remember I used to say, I said that a long time ago, like when real women with divine femininity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. For the divine, real women that carry and exude divine femininity, when they step inside a room, they don't say nothing. And everybody on there gets on code of how to be around a real woman in a presence. It's kind of like when, back in the imperial days when you had the queen come around, no matter how, fucked up your financial status was, you made sure you look your best. You put on your best dress or your best outfit that you could afford in your financial status, and you look well groomed in the presence of a queen. Even if she was only there for 5 or 10 seconds, you knew that you wanted to present yourself in that presence in your utmost way of doing so. Right. And Felicia Rashad, she exudes that. She's our queen mother. She is the mother of America, to be honest with you. She birthed everybody through her role through the Cosby Show. Yes. We knew that when we saw part of our mothers in that, our ancestors in that, our grandmothers in that, and she did it in such an elegant way that she didn't play no house mammy. She didn't play a woman that was struggling without a father. Without a husband or anything like that. She didn't play that single mother role. She had a successful husband, and she was a successful lawyer in a successful position. And yet, she didn't exude that masculine behavior that I make so much money as a lawyer, because some lawyers make more than doctors. She didn't say that attitude in that household or protrude that to the world. She got in there and you saw her more about her feminine role, her divine femininity exuded more than her profession in there, because that was the key. It was showing you how a mother who can go out there and do what she do, but still come home and control everything, and made sure that the household was ran well and was ran with respect. And that's why we gravitated to the Cosby Show so much. And that's why it had such a positive influence, because it was such a great sight and visual to see. And that projection had went into the households. And now you see how everybody that gets around Felicia Rashad, they just make sure that they in the best presence of themselves in front of her. And for this woman who carries herself like that, I don't know her age, sounds like she might be young and immature, but when you get to the wisdom of knowing what true femininity really is and not the feminist movement, then you carry yourselves in a way that is very dominant versus a way that you're going to see that is very time wasting and end up drawing the wrong type of energy towards you. Because remember, divine femininity is going to get the right energy. You ain't never seen no fucked up energy around Felicia Rashad, and she's been around for years. So there's a difference when you exude that energy in the world, that energy comes back. It's always the law of energy, the law of attraction. And I land my plane on that.
Well said, brother. All right, you cooked with that one right there, Bobby. Real quick, what you got?
That heifer It is my deepest desire for her to trip down a very, very tall flight of stairs with absolutely no hand railings, no guardrails, no banister in between to get between her and the very, very ground floor.
Facts. Please.
How dare that heifer fix her face, fix her fingers, fix that feeble little walnut of a brain of hers to cobble such horse manure together about that woman.
Yeah.
Felicia Rashad has forgotten more about what it is to be a woman than that troglodyte can ever hope to experience if she lived for 2 centuries.
You damn
How
right.
dare you? If I could, I would toss forget a glass of water. I would toss a whole bottle of water in her face. How dare you? Sit your $3 ass down before I go and break that bill. No, when I saw that guy, look, there's certain people I do not play about.
Yeah. Me too.
Felicia's one of them.
Yeah.
Even if in your most and that just lets me know how far gone a lot of these women are, a lot of these people are today. Because even with the most ratchet of ratchets back in our day, when a woman like Felicia Rashad says something, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't like what she said, you just either ignored it and let it fly, or you just say you still showed respect at the end of the day because you understood that even if you didn't like it, it was nothing personal. You appreciated her for caring, and possibly somewhere deep inside, you knew that what she said was the truth.
Yeah, all facts. And
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man, like Felicia Rashad, that's more like you say. I got some people like that. I'm just, don't say nothing bad about her. Some people, I'll threaten people. They talk shit about them, like, you don't talk bad about this person, this person. Ashanti was one of those people for me for a while. Kelly Rowland is one of those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are black women that just be minding their own business. They don't fuck with nobody. And every time they do something, they're uplifting us. So if you fuck with them, that means that you way off code, because these are the people who are out here making all of us look good. They're repping for all of us. They are stomping the yard.
They're an embodiment of what is beautiful, right, and functional and healthy with us.
Yes.
You don't do that. You don't attack those people, because if you don't have those, and again, this isn't to say that we're supposed to be celebrity worshiping or adulterizing anybody.
Right.
But when you have people that have put themselves in that position to have that level of respect, you honor that and embrace that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we fly off the handle when you come sideways at Dr. King, or Malcolm X, or Sherzad Ali. There's certain people that you don't say nothing sideways about, because if we attack the best of us, who do we have left?
Come on now, I got an answer to that.
People will complain and say, "Oh, they have such a poor view of us," or "This is why they don't respect us right now, because look at we're conducting ourselves." Okay, bet. So when you see the people who don't move that way, you shut the hell up. It's that simple.
It is.
You can't complain over here about your image, and then when you have people who are upholding the image, you take shots at them.
Hold that thought, because I want to piggyback off of that. You asked, so if you attack the best of us, who do we have left? And then you talked about image, right? That is what you said, right? You talking about image?
Don't do this.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
I knew you would go with that.
Well, I mean, what do you think about this, sir? I'm just saying. What do you think about this, Anthony? We're talking about image.
Why she look familiar? Who is that?
That's Keisha Cole.
Oh shit! Is she bleaching?
And you about to get your black card revoked? How you don't know that's Keisha Cole?
Man, I don't pay attention to ratchets. You can take my black card if that's the case.
Oh, but she's still a cultural icon in black society, and that's kind of the problem, right?
She is,
because she is a cultural icon, and she's a talented woman. And, a lot of sisters look up to her. A lot of sisters really revere her for her talent and whatever the case may be, but she's always doing something ratchet. And, when Bobby was talking about image, I'm looking at this. I was trying to figure out, okay, where I was going to put that in, but I wanted to get on that while we were still on the topic of image, because in the spirit of tonight's show, when we're talking about what is or isn't appropriate, that's where we're going tonight, right? And it's like, bruh, how you pushing 50?
Yeah.
And you still taking these type of pictures and posting them up on the net, you know, to represent yourself. I mean, I'm not even going to say that I co-sign it when it's a young woman doing it, you know, but you are pushing 50. Young girls look up to you, they idolize you, and older women too, you know, and this is the image that you choose to, because every time I see her, she looks like this. Or if she's not presenting that look as who she is, she's doing something ridiculous. You know, who was this toddler she was running around with dating a few months ago? This 20-something-year-old dude dumped her ass and embarrassed her outside the studio one time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then there was the whole thing with Antonio Brown. I think she was dating him for a week and she got his initials tattooed on her. What is this woman doing? Like, she's always making a spectacle of herself.
Her life is a train. Her life is the great train accident.
It's crazy. And I'm a fan of Keisha Cole. I like Keisha Cole's music.
Unfortunately, I do too. That's the problem. I wish I didn't like her. I wish she was something I couldn't stand, so it'd be easy to just, you know, laugh at her and whatever. But I actually root for her.
Yes.
And it's like being a Miami Dolphins fan. I live here, damn it, I can say it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I used to root for them at one point in time, so I can say that. I have that right. I've suffered. I have the right to speak on my pain and trauma. Nobody can police my pain.
Fuck you. I love my Dolphins. Fuck you.
I know you do.
You jumped the losing team to go to a losing team. Fuck you and your Bengals.
I knew Ed was gonna come back for that one. I knew it.
I know where that's coming from, brother. So I forgive you, brother. I know where that's coming from. But
you shit on his Dolphins. Oh man.
But Keisha, man, and you know the problem, unfortunately, is it stems from her mother. If you look at we're looking at the fruit.
Yeah.
When you look at the tree, you understand so much more how we get the fruit. You don't look at an orange tree and expect to get kumquats from harvest season.
Yeah.
You don't.
Fair
An orange
enough.
tree can only produce an orange.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you look to see who raised her, for anything better to have been produced would have been a miracle, to be honest. But unfortunately, this is what to expect from that situation.
Okay. I got a little pushback on that. I hear you. I smell you, dog, but I got a little pushback on that because I feel like as much as that may be true, at some point you reach what I call the age of adult maturity, right? Where you've been taught what you've been taught. You were raised that way. But bitch, you grown now. You understand what I'm saying? So what are you doing? When do we hold people accountable to come outside of themselves and challenge the norms that they've grown up with, that you should be able to see are toxic? You understand what I'm saying? Because it's not even one or two things with this young lady. Everything she does is cringe. You understand? And the proof is in the pudding. Even if you didn't necessarily feel this way before, I know that people have told her about how toxic and fucked up some of the stuff that she does looks and is. And you can see that this shit ain't working.
I'm glad.
In your personal life, you miserable. You can't keep a man for shit. You understand? Especially when you're very beautiful like that. And you can't keep a man. Something is wrong with you. You fucked up.
Yeah.
When do we challenge ourselves to come outside of the program and fix that shit?
I agree with that. 100%.
I was gonna come behind Bobby and say that what you just stated, because one of my issues with Keisha Cole is that I had a lot of empathy for her when she had the Keisha Cole show, and it showed how her mom was just so fucked up. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm just saying she was fucked up traumatic wise. Maybe her mother, I can't remember if the storyline highlighted her mother's mother, but it seemed like a generational of curse that's coming down and nobody's breaking the cycle. And Keisha Cole's had all the weight on her to try to heal her family. And I understood, I empathize with that. And this was a long time ago. Remember, she had her show long time ago.
Yeah.
And after that, we're going into almost, 10, 15 years later, and you're on the same path and doing the same continuous things and showing the trauma and not the healed part of you. So it comes a time where you say to yourself, you have over 15, 20 years of stop being the victim. It comes a time where you have to woman up and start to take responsibilities for your action, because it's falling in all areas, aspects of your life. And you can also see that it affected her music, because when she was at a high point of her life was going good. She was in a good direction. But then you started messing with these dudes and your music ain't coming out right. And people don't understand that. Like your household, this is what makes households so powerful. If your household generates great energy, whenever you step outside of it, you produce great energy. When your household have fucked up energy, that's what you go outside and produce. Yes. This is why a lot of young kids, sorry to say that a lot of young kids are failing. And it's not in the Black household. This is in all households, because a lot of times the kids in the household cannot concentrate on school. And that's why a lot of them just shoot straight to college. And some of them aren't ready to go to college. The household is so damn toxic, they can't concentrate in it. So they have no other option but to go out and go into the real world ahead of their time. So with Keisha Cole's, it's the same thing. It's like, yo, you're supposed to curate yourself and your energy on a healing journey. And all you're doing is you go on a little healing and then you go right back into it. And that's where I say, that's where I feel like she fell off and fell apart on her life, because you can only blame we as adults now can only blame our parents but for so much. You can only be a victim but for so much. After that, you are a grown person that can fix your wrongs. And even if you have toxic family members, you're grown enough to cut them off so that way they can fix themselves before you add them back into your life. You have that control. So I have to hold her accountable at her age for continuing to display this type of behavior and this functionality of being out of whack and off code. And I'll land my plane on that.
Absolutely. Let me just cap on that and say I agree with both y'all fellas 100%.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, let me specify that when I'm referring to the background and what she's coming from, I'm not doing that to take any responsibility off of her. It doesn't matter if it's emotional damage or physical damage.
Okay.
If someone hurts you, if someone damages you, what was done to you is absolutely not your fault.
Okay.
If you have a dysfunctional mother or father and the way they raised you damaged you, it scarred you, it put you in a bad state or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you get in a fight or a car accident, someone hits you with their car and you're disfigured or you have broken bones, whatever. What happened to you is not your fault. You didn't go looking for that. That wasn't something that you had coming your way. You are a victim in that regard. Absolutely.
Okay.
However,
fair enough.
Even though it's not your fault, it is still your responsibility.
Right.
If someone caps you right now, puts a hole in your arm right now, it's not your fault that you got popped. It's not your fault. But whose responsibility is it to make sure that you get to the hospital, get checked out, and something's done about this? It's yours.
There you go.
So that's the disconnect that a lot of people have when it comes to that. Well, it's not my fault. This was done to me. This happened to me. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. 100%. But you cannot stay there. Your healing is your responsibility.
Okay.
you know, if you have the right to bleed. There's some people that don't want to go and get treatment and healing. It's too intense for them. They can't take it.
Yeah.
They choose that I'd rather just sit there and just bleed out. And that's your right. That's your choice. You do not have the right to bleed out on other people.
Yeah.
Don't go bleed out on me. Don't make me feel it because you decided you don't want to get yourself right. Absolutely not.
Okay.
There's no sympathy for that. So, you know, unfortunately, if Keisha and those like her are content to sit back and just go through the cycle, as long as they're not harming or hurting anybody else, that's on them. It's sad to witness, but it is what it is. But don't get to a point now where you try to share your pain and make everybody else feel what you're going through. That is what I have an issue with.
Right. And I wanted to make sure that I got you to elaborate on that, because I didn't want people to
I'm glad you did, yeah.
Because people will take what you said and they'll be like, okay, well, it's not her fault or whatever. It's not her fault that she was hurt, like you said, but you get to a point where it's like, hey, it's on you. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want people to take that away from this, because the lines get blurred. You know, you say, okay, well, an orange tree, you don't expect it to produce nothing but an orange. Okay, I get you. I get where you're going, but I think that's a more initial process, but that's not the end of the story. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted you to clarify that so people could understand where we're going. Next topic. I want to really get into this one, because this is very interesting. Right? We're going to talk about celebrity trending news and who's up this week. Hold on. Damn it. Hold on. Oh my God, this thing is stuck here. Hold on.
It must be Dylan.
Why is this thing stuck? Hold on.
If it's up, then it's stuck.
Oh my God. Hold on, guys. Yes.
Did you get permission from the Illuminati before you decided to share this?
Oh my God, it won't move. Hey, you see this? Anthony, you there? Hello?
Lord, they sacrificed Ant too. Oh man. You dropping Diddy news or something? What's going on?
Ant, I can't hear you, Ant, if you're there.
Oh, dog, you removed me from the stage.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that, man. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. The stage is stuck, man. Oh, wow.
Well, let's just chop it up as you try to pull it up. So
yeah. Let's do that.
Why are you pulling to give us the breakdown? What you got there?
Yeah. So we're talking about in celebrity trending news. We're talking about Karrueche and Deion Sanders. We're talking about Karrueche and Deion Sanders. And at the end of the day, what's going on with Karrueche and Deion is that you know, they're dating. Supposedly, they're supposedly dating. At the end of the day, that's what's happening between Karrueche and Deion Sanders. They're dating, or at least it's rumored that they're dating. And people are out here cutting a fool because they're dating. Now, normally, I mean, there's a big age gap. I think he's 59 and she's 36, right? So there's a considerable age gap between the two of them, and that's why people are freaking out. And my thing is this: I talked to my wife about this. My wife was freaking out. She did not like it. She was displeased. It didn't bother me, and the reason that it didn't bother me was because she's 36. For me, I get bothered by those things when it's a very old man or old woman and there's a young kid, even if we use the situation with Drea is a young woman, respective to the age of life, right? You're 30 years old. What is she, 30, 32? I'm sorry, she's almost 40. She's 39, right? So Dre is a young woman, relative to life, but as far as, okay, you're dating a 20-year-old, you're not young, you know what I'm saying? And that's what bothers me and creeps me and others out so much about some of these older and versus younger relationships. Not so much the age gap, but the age gap as it pertains to dealing with someone that's a spring chicken, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You're talking 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, probably up to like your late 20s. You know what I'm saying? If you're an older person and you're dating someone in that range, that bothers me. But if you're an older person dating a younger person, this woman is 36 years old. Like Mariah Carey, I hear she's dating a younger guy too, and he's in his mid-30s. I don't see anything wrong with that because I feel like once you're over 30, nobody's taking advantage of you. Does that make sense? Or
Nah, because you know why? You know where the line comes in, and I have to agree with your wife.
What's up?
If that person has children that person's age.
We talked about that. Okay. Okay. If they have children, I can see where it's creepy. I get that, right? But two things. I would like to push back just a bit on the children thing. One, everybody ain't got children. Two, everybody ain't trying to be in a serious relationship. Like if it's a serious relationship, I get it. But does anybody really believe Deion Sanders is trying to be serious with Karuchi? Are we buying that?
Whether it's serious or not, I still can't give it that pass because at the end of the day, you got your children, 32 and 31, that has to address her by stepmom or, have to put respect on her name. And it's like, bitch, you only 4 years older than me. Like,
but she ain't gonna be their stepmom, no. Like,
but you don't know that. You don't know how it goes left. Let me tell you something. You know how I know you don't know if it goes left? Did y'all hear this? Did y'all hear the interview with what's his name? Damon Wayne. Right? The Wayans brothers, Damon.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you heard about the story where he dated his son's ex? And
no, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
You got check that out with Club Shay Shay. And even Shannon Sharp was like, yo, how you do that? And he was like, man, if you see how she looked, and he's like, yo, and he was like, yeah, but my son gave me the okay to date her. And he was like, why would you date? He's like, man, if you see how he looked, and I was in love with that. And he just kept saying he was in love with her, like to the point where he didn't even care about his son's feelings for her and how awkward it was at the reunion of the family functions. He said he was in love with this woman. And this woman was his son's age. His son was dating this woman. So he ended up being in a long-term relationship with this woman. That's fucked up.
To be honest, I'm not surprised to hear it. It's shocking because I don't hear about him too much like that. And unfortunately, he was probably one of my favorite Wayans. But flashing back into who he actually is, that's not too surprising because remember, I don't know if it was confirmed or not because there was a bit of gray area in there, but there were rumors that he had cheated on his wife at the time with the girl who played his daughter in My Wife and Kids. Wow. Yeah.
What? Say that again? What?
There are rumors. So supposedly it was now I know the rumors were hinged based on supposedly the girl wrote something in a book saying that he was cheating with her on his wife with her. But bad. Supposedly, and I'm full disclaimer, this is alleged because there's some gray area there.
Oh God.
But supposedly the reason why the show ended was because, and the reason why they switched, because if you remember, And I didn't realize this or remember this until I started watching the episodes again when they dropped on Netflix. But I forgot the first season, the girl they had as the older daughter isn't the same as the one that we know now. It was a darker skinny young girl. And then I think season 2 they came and brought the new one in. And supposedly he was cheating with her and having an affair, and that girl was also a minor at the time as well. And supposedly when they divorced, when he and his wife got divorced, that supposedly was the reason for the divorce. Now again, supposedly I was all on board with it until I saw that the main linchpin in that argument was about what the girl wrote in her biography book. But apparently that has yet to be produced. People keep on referring to the book. Oh, it's in the book. It's in the book. It's in the book. I've seen people saying, "Well, where was it said that? Show us the page. Show us an excerpt." I have not seen anyone share that excerpt to this day, and we know how stuff goes, especially regarding black folk and a black man. If that was there, that would have been on a billboard somewhere. So I'm a little hazy, but that doesn't mean that it didn't occur. So I'm just putting that out there. But I'm saying if that's the case, that character holds.
I do. I that's a little different. I mean, boy, we just got off on a tangent. I knew some shit about the Wayans now that I don't want to know. God damn. Okay, but that's a different situation though. That if you're talking about you going dating your son's ex-girlfriend behind his back versus you're dating somebody and the age thing you're thinking that you might not even be serious with, and the age thing you feel is a problem because of their proximity to your kids. That's two different things, bro. That's two very different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I guess I see your point though. You know, if there are kids involved, I can see how it could be more of a problem. If there are no kids involved though.
I mean, because we brought up the thing with Shaq. He's not dating that 21-year-old, but when he was dating her, he has children that was 26. That's still.
But you're making my point. I'm saying that creeped us out because this girl was only 21. This woman is 36. Nobody's taking advantage of.
Yeah, but you're saying no, because you're going back to the point where you're saying if it's nothing serious, then Shaq wasn't with nothing serious with her, but that was his girlfriend for that little moment. But he still had children older than her. It's still fucked up. She's legal. If we're gonna play the legal game,
what I'm saying in that case, the thing that creeps me out, regardless of if you're serious or you're not serious, what creeps me out personally is when you're an older person and you're fucking with somebody that's barely legal. That's what creeps me out. I can't make that same argument with somebody who's 36. This girl's pushing 40. Nobody's forcing her to do some shit that your mind should be developed enough to know what the fuck is up at that point, is my point. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't have a problem with it. But okay, I can respect that point though. I can respect that point. But I just want to draw the difference between the parallels. Very interesting stuff in any event. I think as a rule, we should just kind of make it a rule to try to keep your age within something realistic of the other person that you're dating, bro. Because like Bill Belichick is 81. I think his girlfriend's 24. Come on,
wild,
man.
But that's the general notion of it is that she's legal. That's what every guy who dates younger is gonna say. As long as she's legal, that's their measurement, and that's what they're gonna run with.
Okay.
I'm just saying, me personally, I like to date women around my age or older.
That's what they're gonna tell the judge. Yeah, I hear you.
More on a social level. It's more in common. You're in my age. I don't have a disconnect with women around my age because we pretty much like and know the same music and been through the same concerts and parties and TV shows we're on the same alignment with. So me personally, I don't know what more of the disdain is for people, a lot of women that's not on the same page with men. So they try to get with women that they can get on the same page with. But man, it's over 2.5 billion women in this world, man. All older women ain't all the problem. There's a lot of women that that, know how to, play in their line and know their role and is good with it and are aligned with you. Not every old woman is stubborn, and not every young girl is cooperative.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Facts.
I'm somewhere in the middle of both of y'all, right there. And I didn't actually adopt this policy until recently, but that was only because I realized that I was already thinking that way anyways. When I actually heard it, I'm like, you know what, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know who came up with it, but that whole concept of as far as the floor for the age of the people that you're dating, that it should be half your age plus 7. That to me sounds like a very fair and reasonable standard. So if we're going based off of that, then Karuchi actually is right there at the end range of who of who Dion should be with. Because if he's 59, let's call him 60 years old, half his age plus 7, half his age is 30 plus 7, 37 years old. And that's right there. And like you said, Major, she's definitely old enough. She's basically in her 40s. She's right next door there. It's only about 2 decades of a difference, but at that point, there really is no argument to be made about whether or not she's a grown woman. She's also been around as far as having experience. She's seen things. She's done things. So it's not like this is some little, wide-eyed, naive girl who has no concept of how the world works or anything of that nature, where you can, like you said, claim that she's being taken advantage of. This is a grown-ass woman.
Yeah.
She's, by today's standards, she's actually almost old enough to be a grandmother, just about. She's again, by today's standards. So I don't see that being an issue, being problematic. And again, this is speculation because we don't have it confirmed that they are dealing with each other just yet. But as far as if they are dealing with each other, I don't see an issue with this relationship. And again, for that reason, for me, it's way different from Shaq's old decrepit ass dealing with a woman that's 20 years old. I mean,
that's my point. It's different, bro. It's different.
That's at the end range right there. And especially with someone like him, the issue is,
come on, man.
There's so many women between 21 and your age. There's a wide range.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to that end. You don't have to go to the 3-foot section of the pool. You can get some good traction around the 5-foot, 6-foot. And then to make matters worse, dude is 7 foot tall, about 350 or something. This is a giant ass dude. He's basically dating his thumb. not just physically, but also in age. Like, sir, what are we doing?
This is crazy.
What are we doing?
That shit look crazy. I'm sorry. It ain't the same. That's all I'm saying, Ant. It ain't the same, man.
I feel you, Ant. I feel you. But
I feel Ant too.
Not this one.
But that shit ain't the same, dog.
But not this one.
Yeah, but if you have, my thing is, if you have children around that person's age, and I'm looking at it from the children's perspective, because I think a lot of times we think with our dicks more than our real heads. And if we're doing that, you're not taking into consideration of the feelings of your children, man, because that puts your children in a fucked up position. Like I say, Jalen Green is old. He's old. He's an adult. But for you to have a boyfriend the same age as your 21, 22-year-old son, it's just a fucked up thing for you to put your child in that predicament. Like, that's crazy. Like, I just wouldn't do it. Like I say, there's so many people in your age range that look good. There's a lot of women out here that look fucking good for 40. I mean, for if you're 60, 50s and 40s, heavy in the late 40s, early 50s. There's women out here that look amazing. Even some 60-year-old women look amazing. So, I just think that as men, man, we got to stop trying to cater too much of going younger to make ourselves feel good, because at the end of the day, there's women around you that are your age that really can put you on a better plateau and make you feel better than a lot of these young women. And that's all I'm saying, because I agree with that. I just don't want people to feel like that's the end all, and then we have all our older women looked at as like they're not qualified, and that's far from the truth.
Understood.
Also
Understood.
agreed. I think a lot of things are true here at the same time. I don't disagree with anything that you said either.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with it either. Just a very, very interesting topic because I think that at some point we got to get to consensus on that because man, a lot of people getting dragged for that, man. It's just like, yo, it's a thing. So moving on. I want to talk about this because this is a big deal. Okay, this right here just bothered me, man. You know what I'm saying? Vice principal arrested after making 13-year-old student rub her feet like he loved her. All right. So those of you, that are on my page or follow me on Facebook, you probably saw this already. We might have talked about it, but here we go. An assistant principal of a middle school in Poinciana has been arrested by the Polk County Sheriff's Office after she behaved inappropriately with a 13-year-old male student. 53-year-old Dr. Kiva Lark has been charged with lewd and lascivious conduct and lewd offense against a student by an authority. The investigation began on April 4th, 2025, after the principal of Lake Marion Creek Middle School reported the incident to the PCSO. The Polk County School Board and the Florida Department of Children and Families were also notified, and Dr. Lark was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. The incident occurred after the victim was sent to Lark's office due to the student throwing balled up paper across the classroom during a test. While in the office, according to the two witnesses and the victim, Lark told the victim to rub her feet since he didn't have anything better to do with his hands. She removed her shoes and placed her legs across the victim's lap, and he did as he was told. Lark was heard scolding the boy for not rubbing her feet correctly and demonstrated how she would prefer to be massaged by rubbing the child's arm and shoulder. A co-worker and witness heard Lark tell the student to rub her feet like he loved her. A witness also heard Lark tell the victim that she was doing this so he would know how to foreplay or what foreplay is for when he gets a girlfriend. A witness told detectives that Lark, several days later, crossed the line during the incident. This story just gets worse and worse. Dr. Lark told detectives that initially it was only a joke and she was trying to humble her victim. It is completely inappropriate for a 53-year-old woman to act and talk like this to a middle school boy. It's even worse given that this was an assistant principal and her student. Okay, Dr. Lark later admitted that the actions were inappropriate for her profession, and she denied saying anything inappropriate to the victim. This type of thing, I can't say enough about it. When I saw this story, my head exploded. I really didn't know what to say. I mean, there's even other stuff in the story. It's a pretty lengthy story, where she talks about, she used to call the kid, sexy chocolate in the hallway and all this type of shit. And my response was, first of all, lock her ass under the jail, because I mean, my God, the level of comfort with which she did this with witnesses in the room tells me that this ain't her first rodeo.
No.
That she probably does this type of shit all the time. And just the fact that she had to be called out in order to admit to any type of wrongdoing, but still didn't admit any wrongdoing to the victim. My head exploded. I'm reading this and my blood is just boiling. My main takeaway from this story, above all else, is parents, y'all better start talking to your kids. Because just because your kids don't say shit to you, don't mean that it ain't shit to you that they should be saying. She used to call this little boy sexy chocolate in the hallway all the time, apparently. You understand what I'm saying? How does that not get back to the parents? Even the fact that she did this and there were two witnesses there and nobody did anything. What the fuck are we doing out here, man? My head exploded. Like, even if you are there in the room and that's occurring, you're supposed to do something. So I have a problem even with the witnesses. in this story. You know, it's I mean, this is just next level egregious. I wanted to make sure I saved this one for now because, you know, I really want us to get into this one. This is my drill down segment. Like, you know what I'm saying? I really want to talk about this because this is something that nobody's talking about. And I suspect that it's going on all over the place. And I think Bobby said in my comments, you know, it's probably happening with a lot more women than we would suspect because we still got this whole, you know, I don't know what type of culture, maybe locker room culture or whatever the case may be, where, you know, if a young boy is getting flirted with or getting fondled or, you know, having sex with a grown woman, you still have some men that are bigging him up like that's a come up, like that's some fly shit. You know, YG just put out a song about that. You understand what I'm saying? That, you know, when he was young, he was raped and nobody did shit about it. You know, this has become normalized to the point where even if the young boys are being harassed or outright abused and assaulted sexually, nobody's even saying it. People were in the room and did not stop it. Thoughts?
Well, this goes back to a very valid point that a lot of people have been making over the years, the elephant in the room, that a lot of people don't recognize or address because it really elevates the same people that they demonize. But now you see the importance of why a lot of male teachers back in the day really, they really strived, imparted, and made a huge impact on a lot of children's lives in the school system. Over the years, a lot of these male teachers have gotten out of the school system and end up doing other things. And we start to see the decline of their impact within these school systems. A young boy like that would not be displaying that type of behavior in the classroom if when, you know, we had male teachers back in our days, that those male teachers that I had, they didn't allow that type of shit to carry on with us boys in that classroom. We had to act right, and they straightened us up, and they gave us that fatherly talk. So they were the fathers away from the homes when we were in school.
Yeah.
And now you have a diminishing percentage of that presence in these school systems, and that's why you're starting to see a lot of this crazy behavior going on. And then you have the women that's in the system either coddling or being predators on them. How many women teachers are we seeing now coming forth as being predators? And a lot of that also has to deal with women fantasizing their children. You know, when you putting these young boys in your household and you calling them king, and you know you're doing all type of things to them in a way that you would really display love with a significant other, you know, replacing that man with your child and putting him in that territory. Oh, he's the king of my castle. So you already fantasizing and propping this young boy up into in a faster role than he needs to be. And that mindset transitions over into the schoolhouse. And that's why these women are looking at these young boys as a sexual object, or, you know, in a sexual way. And it's psychologically, it's really being fucked up, and nobody's addressing it because for the most part, when it comes down to Black women doing this type of stuff like this Black woman has done, a lot of people don't want to say nothing because they say, oh, you know, we don't want to take this Black woman out of this position because it's so hard for Black women to get in these positions, especially as assistant principal. You know, that's a high-ranking title inside the school system. So now you're in the wind, a rock in a hard place because you want to address it because it's wrong, but then you don't want to get this person in trouble and lose their job and the ways of feeding their family or whoever their family depends on their their financials to provide for them. So you get stuck in this realm of damn if I do, damn if I don't. But at the end of the day, doing the right thing is the right thing, and your conscience is clear when you are doing the right thing. And when you allow fucked up shit to happen and you ignore it, your conscience you'll never sleep. And you can't tell me these people that witnessed that went to bed the next day and had a healthy mind or a healthy rest. No, the whole night they probably like, damn, that's kind of fucked up that she did that. Yeah. And you coming back the next day and now you're looking at the principal in a different way, and your mind is looking at the child in a different way too, and it's on your conscience. So you got to go out there and do the right thing and make that right move. But psychologically, women all over, not just a race thing. It's just women in general have to stop fantasizing these young guys, and even with these older women out here, going after these young dudes, and the news glorifies it when you have these women like the Dreas and all these, what's the other, Aisha, that just had a baby with Edwards. These are older women preying on younger guys for a paycheck, but they're preying on younger guys. And now everybody's fantasizing and idolizing that and want to be the next woman to do it. The problem is when you do that, and this is why I say, even with the men, the problem is when you go lower, now it's how low is too low. Yeah. Because like I said, the bar is as long as they're legal. In these cases, these children aren't legal, but I'm just saying the mindset is once you go low, how low is too low? You get what I'm saying? And it really depends on the person. Because some people will be like, I won't go lower than 18. And some people say, shit, if the motherfucker is willing, I'll go low as 13. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. And I'll land my plane on that.
All facts, Bobby.
Disgusting, vile heifer. I hope they throw the book at her. When it comes to this issue, I am the same across the board. I feel exactly the same way about female predators like I do about male predators. And all of it, well, I don't want to, well, no, I'll say it. All of it basically relates to we don't need to get the law involved. We can handle that ourselves.
Yeah, it is.
That's how I feel about it. But that's just me.
Understood. Doesn't have to be explained. Go ahead. Yes.
But unfortunately, and I've said this a while ago, we are today when it comes to the subject of male sexual abuse or male sexual abuse and rape. We are today in the same place we were with the issue of female sexual assault and rape about a good 60, 70 years ago. So when it first became news that, hey, guess what? Women probably should be able to consent to sex. Really? Yeah. Maybe, the whole grabbing them by the hair, clubbing them over the head and doing whatever you want to do with them. Don't think that falls under best practices and, that whole thing. So when it was first being determined that women should have autonomy, that children should have an autonomy to say so, that it wasn't fitting for adults to go and marry children or to have sexual relationships with children. That right there is where we are today when it comes to male sexual abuse and sexual assault. And the reality is any sort of punishment that has taken place as a result of that really is based on laws that were created for female victims. Now, even though the law reads sexual abuse and sexual assault, these are sexual abuse charges, it doesn't say female sexual or male sexual abuse, sexual assault cases. The reality is they were not thinking about males when these laws came on the books. And that's part of the reason why we have so much of a difficulty seeing males, even if they're children, as victims of sexual abuse and sexual assault. We have a lot of males and females that would see this and laugh at the story. Or, well, that's no big deal. It's nothing. But unfortunately, if it were reversed, if it was a male teacher saying to a female student, all sorts of anarchy and bedlam popping off.
Yep.
And this is where we see how this horrible double standard, this feminist trope that's been pushed out there is so dangerous and devastating. We have children who are being victimized and they can't get justice because unfortunately they fall into an archetype that says, well, because you're a male, you're the problem. If anything, you probably solicited this older woman. And even though she has tons of life experience over you, even though she's a full-grown adult, even though she has all sorts of post-grad training and everything, just by you being a male, you were able to overpower her. And this is why males are problematic. This is why they're dangerous. And no, nobody's saying that, but based on the archetype that's put out there, that's what fits the narrative.
Yeah.
And it's why we don't have the proper tools to navigate these stories the way we're supposed to. This is also why, and I've said this before, and I'm going to become a lot more bold. I'm going to find more ways to go ahead and inject that and put it out there until it becomes part of the discourse. This is why I know, in my heart of hearts, I know that there are more female sexual predators than there are males. I know it. I know it. The evidence, the proof may never come out, but I know it, and no one can budge me off of that. Because common sense and logic tells us, basic human psychology period, with animals, whatever you accept, you can expect.
Yeah.
When you have a child, we see this all the time, and proper boundaries are not set with the child. We don't teach a child that to stop crying for every little thing. If we don't teach a child, no, you can't do this or do that, the child will go on to continue pushing the boundaries, not because the child is bad, but because they're trying to figure out where the boundary is.
Yeah.
If they keep seeing there isn't one there, they're going to keep pushing it. And we see it all the time. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, look at him. Look at her doing this, and the third. And then when they reach a certain age, no one knows what the number is. All of a sudden, it's not cute anymore. They don't want to punish the child. They want to cuss at the child. They want to punish the child, hit the child, beat the child. You're supposed to know better. You know that's wrong. No, the child doesn't know better. You permitted it to get this far. This is your fault. You need your ass whooped. That child is doing what you permitted them to do. You've taught this child that this is acceptable. Unfortunately, you didn't teach them that it's only acceptable because of a certain age. You didn't even give them any guidelines with that.
Right.
So the same way, most males, I think it's pretty safe to say, most males understand that sexual abuse is wrong. That sexual assault is wrong.
Yeah.
And even the ones that do it anyways understand they have to move very, very secretively if they don't want to get caught or busted for it.
Because it's wrong.
But the minute they step bad, that thing is on them. They're ready.
Come on now.
That doesn't happen with females.
It does not.
Like you pointed, I'm glad you highlighted that. They're in the office. They're in the principal's office. People outside the office were able to hear this conversation. They were able to hear what's going on. So she wasn't speaking in a low voice.
No.
Speaking very casually, there wasn't a whole bunch of, the door was closed, but that's about as much as the secrecy.
Well, we don't even know that. We don't even know that. It says that there were witnesses. It doesn't mention if they were outside or inside. It just says that they might have been right there.
You know, that's the crazy part too. That's not far-fetched either. But that only further goes to show how relaxed it is for female predators because there's no real benchmarks in place. Yeah. Now we know if a male did that, he was gonna. It would have been a whole lynch mob outside that office. They would have dragged him out on a rail, as they should.
Yeah,
as they should, and invite me, please. I'll bring my own pitchfork and torches. I come strapped for that.
Yes,
but when it's her, then it's a completely different approach because she's a female, so something is wrong. She's a victim somehow in this.
Somehow,
and if we can't absolve her of any wrongdoing, well, then we're just gonna take the Taiwan approach. Well, she's troubled. She needs some therapy and some counseling.
She's crazy, bro.
She's a good woman. She just went wrong somewhere. We can fix this.
Isn't that what they always say? Extremely well said.
And again, that's why I know there's more of them than the males.
And you're probably right. You're probably right. I'm gonna squeeze this one more story in, then we're gonna do our crown check. Because I think this is also a very fitting for tonight's topic. Tonight we're talking about what's appropriate. I want you to check out the homie real quick. Tell me what you think.
It wasn't happening quick enough for him. I take off, we fly in. and he had another writer in our camp at the time. He had her write this. So he played it for me, like, this is the remix, because I'm thinking I'm coming in to go write a remix to turn me on. Like, The whole time I had been writing concepts, like, but I come into the studio and he plays me this verse, and I'm like, automatically, I'm like, I'm not saying that. That was my position. That is definitely a regret of not fighting even stronger. But Carrie, the human, was looking at Carrie Hilson, the artist, like, you deserve that. I was on tour.
So that was unfortunately the for whatever reason the video did not play for that particular file, but that was Carrie Hilson, and Carrie was
Miss Carrie, baby.
Miss Carrie, baby. I like Carrie Hilson.
Carrie, if you out there, message me, Bobby Drake. I'd like to talk to you about some future dates on the show if possible. We can discuss it in person.
How about that? Yeah,
you know how to find me.
Contact Bobby Drake. You know, Bobby, you're a character.
You miss all the shots you don't take. Shoot or shoot, baby.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Bobby Drake is trying to end his bachelorhood. You dig? So Carrie, you know, we got available bachelor over here. You know, if you're paying attention, you dig. But I really want to talk about this because I like Carrie Hilson and I like her music, and she seems to be, you know, relatively cool sister from all things. The one thing in life that I disliked about Carrie Hilson is when she did this corny shit. You know what I'm saying? When she made this, and for those that don't know, Carrie Hilson has a hit song called Turning Me On. And, you know, on the remix to Turning Me On, she says some real foul, out of the way, disrespectful things about Beyonce, about, you know, she needed to go have some babies, and, you know, she needed to do this and she needed to do that. This is before her kids, obviously. That's how long ago this was. You know, and she really talked reckless about Beyonce. You know,
she on the remix?
It's on the remix. You gotta check it out if you haven't. And there
I might have been a little overwhelmed by Carrie herself, and I didn't notice that. I got
maybe.
Wait a minute.
It's on the remix, and you may not have heard about it because after that remix, I think she might have had one or two more hit records, and that was it. You didn't hear no more from Carrie Hilson.
Now this makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, the power of the B, baby.
Just saying. Because what had happened was, you know, people were saying it was never confirmed until now that verse was about Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? And even back then, everybody, like, when you hear the lyrics to the verse, you can kind of tell it was about Beyonce, right? You're like, oh man, she's going in on B, she's shitting on Beyonce. And then what I have a problem with now is years later, her trying to make waves with this story, this cockamamie ass story about how she was forced to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, oh, they were threatening my career, and oh my God, I had to do it. Nobody makes you do anything. You know what I'm saying? I've been offered major record deals 3 different times. I didn't accept any of those contracts, and I'm doing very well for myself today. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I do 3 times. I turn those down because the industry is real shady, and you see some weird shit when you get up close to people. You understand what I'm saying? And if you a man like Terrence Howard said, man, hey, a man gonna stand on business. You dig? So whenever you see that weird shit, you go that way. But you know, Carrie really tried to sit up there and cop please during this interview and talk about how she was forced to, you know, do this. And I just don't feel that kind of behavior is appropriate just out of the blue and for no reason because somebody told you to. That's my take on it. You understand what I'm saying? If you got a problem with this person, if y'all beefing, if some shit went down, whatever the case may be, that's different. But for you to just come at this person sideways and disrespect them on that level, the verse is real disrespectful. I'm gonna find it in a minute. On that level, just because somebody told you to, then you talk about, oh, they made me do it. Fuck out of here, bro. That's my
these lyrics now, and my eyebrows are.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna pull them up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Y'all get started. Tell me what I'm seeing. Tell me what I'm seeing. What's up? What y'all got?
What you said? What's the general gist you was talking about as far as what is it you wanted to know?
I'm just saying, like, how do you feel about that situation?
About Carrie Hilson and B?
About the interview, the clip from the interview that I just played, where she's saying, oh, she was forced to diss Beyonce, and she didn't write the verse and somebody else wrote it and made her write it and all this old shit. How do you feel about that?
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It might be some truth to it. It probably is. I think a lot of times people think that Beyonce is just this innocent woman, but man, Beyonce been doing some real foul fucking shit behind the scenes, dog, that nobody addresses because it's Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want to tear down the fabric, kind of like Obama, right? Obama been doing some real foul fuck shit behind the scene, and it's like you say something about Obama, even if it's fact based. People be like, why are you saying that? You're just a person that just want to see black people fail. But for her to say that, I don't know, it might be some, but then again, it also goes into the sisterhood. Like, we got women that's always attacking other women, man. We see it all the time in different fields and different areas. We just talked about tonight's conversation of 2 women on there. Then after that, shortly after that, then you had the 2 women on the Breakfast Club. There is a situation where women aren't on code with each other, and they're quick to attack each other and go after each other. That's just the cattiness that goes on with women, and it's real bad. You know what I'm saying? And I wish that the sisterhood would come back and be more on code with each other when it comes to embracing each other, and more on code when it comes to holding the sisters accountable for their fuck shit as well. But as far as the industry is always going to pivot women against each other, even with the men. When you look at Stephen A. and all the fuck shit he talks about, man, he goes extra hard on black people. I don't see him going hard on the white individuals like that. But it just goes to show you that there's a pivotal thing that stems from slavery that we just are off code behavior with it, and we're not really on code with it. And I just want to see more people on that, and we can stay away from the bullshit. Like, everybody has their own lane. You can strive in your own lane without hating or saying anything on somebody else's. Even if you don't agree with what they got going on, you don't have to step on their feet. And whoever's writing that she said wrote it, she could have easily said, nah, you know what? I ain't even going to do that. Even if she felt that, nah, I ain't going to put that out there. That's something that I'm going to hold between me and her behind the scenes. It's not for the public to hear about it or me to address it in public about it. And I'll land my plan on that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even disagreeing with her feeling that way. My issue is, like I said, with her in the interview saying she was forced to say it. Like, I don't see how you're forced to do anything. You know what I'm saying? If you have integrity, you're supposed to stand on business. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not forcing me to go out here and, go at this woman in this way. Go ahead, Bob. What you got?
Yeah, so I did some quick digging on it.
Yeah.
Read through the lyrics. I'm kind of like, oh wow, okay. Yikes. So Spitfire there.
Yeah.
Part of the allegations in the lyrics was that apparently that she's written songs for Beyonce, and I guess didn't get credit. Later on, I'm gonna do some digging to see if I can find some of her songwriting credits to see if there's any truth to that. But like you said, this definitely will be a situation where hands aren't 100% clean. Beyonce does have low-key have a reputation of moving kind of snakish in the industry. Personally, I will still never forgive her for basically swiping Amerie's whole entire style.
Okay.
Ameriie was making hits off that before Beyonce came in the picture, and then she came in on that. You never heard about Ameriie again, which I personally think did Ameriie a big favor, because I think she may have been one of the few people to actually have success and leave more or less unscathed. The Hollyweird industry, and yes, the music business is part of Hollyweird, That's not a place you want to be for too long. So I think the same thing might be able to be said about Carrie. If you got bounced out early, probably did you a favor. Because I hear a lot of sisters that have been around for a minute. They have some sob stories about it. You gotta be careful about what you want. Sometimes what you want might not be good for you.
Fair enough.
I'm looking at some of the annotations about the song on Genius.com.
Yeah,
and they're saying that so this version you're talking about actually is an unofficial one. They're saying that an unofficial "Turning Me On" remix was released with a verse that appeared to take subliminal shots at Beyonce by mocking her with the to the left" refrain from her hit single Irreplaceable.
Yeah.
In a 2009 interview with Devi Dev, Carrie talked about the creation of the remix. And then what I think you're referring to is during an April 2025 interview on The Breakfast Club, Carrie appeared to reverse course. So I don't know what she said in the first interview, but apparently they're saying that in this recent one, she reversed course from the previous interview, saying that producer Polo Dadon forced her to record the verse for the Turn Me On remix or risk having her debut album shelved.
Yeah. In the first interview, she said that she was just standing on business and she wasn't backing down from nothing. That's what she said in the first interview.
Yeah.
While we're at it. Yeah.
So Carrie said that version was leaked and she was now apologetic while admitting that it negatively impacted her career. She didn't disclose who wrote the verse, but writer Esther Dean later confirmed she co-wrote the verse out of multiple potential verses and apologized for her role, which Carrie responded to with extra context. So sounds messy, but based on that, if she to an extent was telling the truth to some degree in both interviews, it sounds like she pretty much went through that rite of passage that most artists have, where before you go ahead and drop your debut album or whatever, or before you actually get some backing behind you, they typically want you to write for established artists. So this happens all the time. Doesn't matter if you're R&B singer, a pop singer, or a rapper. A lot of artists that are established have ghostwriters or may have some other artists help co-write their hits for them, kind of getting a feel for them, or at least that's what the industry tells them. We want to see how talented you are. We're going to have other people who are established sing your stuff or do your stuff. And if it takes off, it's a hit, we'll go ahead and give you the green light to start doing your own projects or whatever.
Right.
Really, it's jacking intellectual property for the low. It's like a dummy internship that you don't get paid for. And if they find a reason to keep you around, this kid might have something, they'll go ahead and give you your own test run. That's how the janky industry works.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, if this is true, that Carrie has written some songs for Beyonce that have taken off. And I don't know if maybe they were playing games with her, just kept dialing her release date back. Well, this month, we're gonna put all the fanfare behind you. 2 months passes. Yeah, I know, but we're kind of backed up. Beyonce has another album, which you had a lot to do with, by the way, and other people. So it might have been that kind of thing, and she was just frustrated.
Yeah.
Because she's seeing success. Like, I know that I'm good enough because I see what it's doing for other people. It could be that.
Right.
And I'm not knocking her either way she's going with that. I'm not knocking her either way, whether she's lashing out because of that or she just feels like I'm better than this chick. I want to state my claim. I don't have issues with anything that she did for whatever reason she did it.
Right.
My issue is not standing on it.
Tell them about that is.
That's my thing.
It.
Whatever you decide to do, stand on that. Now, if she were to say that I went out and did that, and as an older woman, I'm looking back now and I'm saying, you know what, that wasn't wrong. That was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
I'm with that as well too.
That's honesty.
Take ownership. Take accountability. What good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, own your shit.
That's my issue.
I'm a heavy advocate for that.
That's my issue. I hear
fall
you.
on the sword. Don't cap and talk about, well, I was forced to do this, whatever.
Fuck out of here. Nah, you.
And now here you go back and you weren't talking like that before, so don't say that now. Now, if you have some kind of if you have some hard information, if you have evidence of it, that's a different story. But you have to know, after all these years, if you're just putting out all this subjective he said, she said gossip that no one can yay or nay.
Yeah.
Especially when it looks bad because you're doing a pivot. It's not a good look.
It's not a good look at all.
That's not. And if that was the case, then you simply got to take that. You should have just simply taken the L and fallen on the sword.
Yeah.
I didn't say it when I should have. It's no point saying it now. You live and you learn. I can maybe gain up somebody else in the future so they don't do what I did. That's the approach to take. But Carrie, Mama, I still love you. And again, you know, call me because I do care. I want to get your side of the story. Maybe I got it wrong. You know, I want to get to the truth of the matter. I care about what you have to say. So, you know, Manversations 2020, Bobby Drake. Come talk to us.
Oh my God! So on that note, we're gonna move into our crown check because you know clearly the sisters are of utmost importance, as Bobby Drake just illustrated to you right there. We love the sisters. We're gonna get into our crown check segment. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's working now. Good Lord, it messed me up earlier, man. It messed me up. But as far as our crown check for today, I found this very, very phenomenal sister that I want to tell you about. And her name is Mae Jemison. Mae Jemison is an American engineer, physician, and former NASA astronaut. She was the first African-American woman to travel into space when she served as a mission specialist above the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 92. I did not know that. All right. Jemison joined NASA's astronaut corps in 1987 and was selected to serve for the STS-47 mission during which the Endeavour orbited the Earth for nearly 8 days on September 12th through 20th, 1992. She was born in Alabama, raised in Chicago, and she went to Stanford University with degrees in chemical engineering, as well as African and African-American studies. She then earned her medical degree from Cornell University. My God. Jemison was a doctor for the Peace Corps in Liberia and Sierra Leone from 83 to 85 and worked as a general practitioner in pursuit of becoming an astronaut. Then she applied to NASA. She was a doctor before she became an astronaut. Are you taking notes? Are you inspired? God damn. I'm just saying. What? So Jemison left NASA in 93 and founded a technology research company. She ain't done. And she later formed a nonprofit educational foundation, and through the foundation is the principal of the 100-year Starship project funded by DARPA. Okay, Jennison's also wrote several books for children and appeared on television several times, including in a 1993 episode of Star Trek. Oh, my sweet baby Jesus. I'm getting tired just listening to this woman's resume. How did she find all these hours in a day? This is an extraordinary woman. I just had to go ahead and give us some love today. That's our crown check for today. Oh, my God. This is a phenomenal sister.
Wow.
And I'll land. Yes. So, fellas, any final thoughts?
Phenomenal crown check. I had read about her a couple months back. I stumbled on her. Phenomenal woman. Like you say, her accolades, you know, when you talk about a woman of all trades, that's exactly who she was. You know, and it just goes to show you, like, you know, this is before internet.
Yeah.
And a lot of people took the time to really work on themselves, and you know, they were just trying to get more knowledge on top of more knowledge on top of more knowledge. And, you know, it just shows you that you can be and achieve anything you want. You just put your mind to it, and the rest will go, you know. And shout out to her, man, for doing a phenomenal thing. And at the same time, building a legacy, because being in the Peace Corps and doing everything like that, that's legendary. And then making her marks in Africa in 2 different nations, that's so dope, you know what I'm saying? And then being a first Black woman in space, like, this lady's leaving her legacy in all areas of this world, even in the sky. So, you know, shout out to that Black woman who don't get enough credit, because when you hear about Black history, you know, you don't hear her name being mentioned, and that's crazy. We mention the same people over and over and over, and that's why Manversations is so powerful, because now so many people have contacted me and let me know that the women that we display on these platforms, they never heard of. And it's sad, because there's so many other women out there doing phenomenal stuff that get buried because they want to keep the same names going over and over and over to limit the greatness and show you the extent of greatness that we accomplish as Black folks in general. Now, I'll land my plane on that.
All facts.
Absolutely. So I'm extra blown away because I actually learned about Mae Jemison early. I'm actually flashing back, and I can actually still see in my elementary school classrooms pictures of famous faces around the wall, and Mae Jemison's face was up there. And I think I even wrote a paper when I was in elementary school, wrote like a little essay or something about her being an astronaut. But I had no idea about all the other stuff. I think I didn't find out, or I didn't pay much attention to it, but I remember hearing that she was Dr. Mae Jemison later on, possibly in middle school or high school. But again, I thought it was just related to her stuff at NASA. I didn't know that it was all this other stuff she had going on. And then after space, she was doing all this incredible stuff. I knew about the children's book writing. I knew about that. And I knew about the astronaut work. I did not know about everything else that she did. And it's just amazing to see what happens. And this is why learning never stops. Because again, this was a person I thought I knew about. If you mentioned the name, I'd have been like, oh yeah, Mae Jemison, the astronaut. You said Mae Jemison, the physician, Mae Jemison, the entrepreneur, the tech startup founder, Mae Jemison, the one that's getting projects funded by government agencies. I'm like, nah, I don't know who that is. So, it's also another example of why it's important to keep a beginner's mind and never think that you know everything.
Right.
The more you know, you should feel more insecure as far as knowledge goes, because you understand that there's so much more to go. And that should also inspire you to keep digging deeper and keep learning, because there's some amazing gems that you can find out. Now, Mae Jemison's a hero of mine 8 times over now.
All facts.
That's incredible.
Facts. And let me tell you something. The thing that jumped out to me and what I thought when I heard this, no excuses, no more for anything. This woman was a doctor before she became an astronaut, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear no excuses for nothing. Let's get it done. That's all I'm gonna say.
And something else real quick. I'm doing the numbers and my brain's kind of slow with it right now, but I'm thinking about it too. She did most of these things hella early in life, because I remember seeing her age. She's 68 now, but a lot of these accomplishments were popping off for her around the 90s. So that's like about 20, 30 years ago. So when she was late 20s and 30s, she was making all this hay going on. That's crazy.
It's wild, dog. I am so inspired by hearing this. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna finish the damn chapter in my book tonight. No excuses. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
I feel that.
Oh my God, to have accomplished all of that, like you saying, so early. And I mean, these are all very difficult things. That's just phenomenal. And yeah, of course, we got to close out now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are in the building, Manversations 2020. All right. Y'all good? Y'all
good.
Fit your all right.
Yes, sir.
Easy.
Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up. Manversations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manversations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there, you gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, if that people knew that glorious path, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage. We are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.